This first blueprint is what you'd like to get accomplished in this one lifetime. And then tagging on things in case it doesn't go right. Let's suppose you want to be a doctor in this new journey, or a surgeon, or whatever. You know, you got to, but your parents, you get the right parents, everything's going along right, but understand this, the parents get in turmoil and they go divorce, and you lose your monies and so on and so forth. It's going to be very difficult for that. So what you can do is you back off to another process. And understand this. This is important. Every blueprint in your body process right now is always aimed at the highest, most dynamic outcome possible. So understand this thing, my friends. This journey is about the blueprint. The blueprint, whether it's first or secondary, understand it, because it's the most important thing you'll ever have to deal with in this entire lifetime. And most of you will come into this lifetime and go right out and die in this lifetime and never even know that you even had a blueprint. What is a blueprint? A blueprint is simply, they use blueprints to make buildings over on Earth dimension. But I'm talking about your blueprint of life. And understand this thing. This life is every bit as powerful as any building they could ever build. In this blueprint, you've got basically two strands of blueprints that's locked into this body process. Now, the first blueprint, as we've said over and over and over again, it's what you want to get into this journey and you want to get out of this journey. That's the kick, getting in and getting out. Now, understand this. Your blueprint has all the things like cancer, tuberculosis, all the things that would cause you to get out of this journey when things are not going exactly the way you want them to go. And understand this thing. You all think that you're afraid to die, but nobody has any greater fear than anybody else. But understand this thing. When you get to that point where you want to get out of here, you may not have the courage just to walk out. You don't have that type of courage. You just can't do it. But you can walk in a heartbeat. So this is what we talk on this blueprint. And this blueprint. Now let's talk about how you get this blueprint into your body right now. You got this omni-brain presence. And you got your local brain here in your head. And understand this. The local brain has got all the blueprints you could ever use. But you get through it and you want to get to another part of your life. So what you do is you call on your higher self, this omni-brain presence, to give you a little splinter. A little splinter of blueprint, basically. Because understand this thing, what you're going to get, this, you may have a cold or flu or whatever, but understand this, just a splinter getting into your journey right now. And let's talk about the cold for a moment. What do you know of a cold? It can't be cured, right? We know it can't be cured. And what you want to do is you want to sleep, don't you? Well, we know you can't cure it, so we don't have to worry about that part of it. But the sleeping thing, we've got to get you to get down, lay down and go to sleep, right? If you don't lay down and sleep, we'll just amp it up a little bit and amp it up and amp it up until you finally lay down and you go to sleep. And now we can get this splinter in. The splinter is just a rare form of a new knowledge, a new basic knowledge. Now, you go to the other side of this whole project. You got this blueprint that comes into this whole journey, and you're gonna have a complete walk-in. Now, everybody, listen to me just a moment, because I need you to hear this. This walk-in is not a monster coming out of the zones or something like that. It's your higher self giving you a new aspect of what you're going to do on this planet right now. Now, understand this. They do not come in very easy. Now, my medium, he's had his stroke, and Ricky's had his stroke, and so on, his stroke. But understand this thing. You don't have to have a stroke to get this blueprint in. But be aware, when it comes in, it's going to rattle your world. And you say, well, I was 60, 65 years old. I've never had a blueprint. I've never had a journey of walk-in. That's probably because you're never going to have a walk-in. Because understand, you're working on the lower limbs of your blueprint, and you're trying to get to this whole journey of, you understand this. If you've tried to do something for a very long time, you're going to be an ambulance driver. And you've tried to be an ambulance driver for a very long time, and the most you can ever get anywhere is just sitting in the back of the cab and taking care of the people. But understand this thing. That's what you really wanted to get to, right, in this lifetime. That's the truth. Because if it wasn't the truth, if there was more in your blueprint, then you'd have gotten into this being the driver and riding the sirens and everything else, you know. But understand this thing. This is your blueprint, and it's absolutely dynamic for you to understand this. The dynamics of the blueprint is you're always going to have exactly what you need, whether it's a splinter or a walk-in or whatever. Now, this other thing with walk-ins, they say, well, this guy had a walk-in over there. He's changed his personality. He doesn't even enter to his own name. Well, I'll tell you, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, not in a spiritual sense. We're talking about the blueprints. We've got to talk about spirituality. But understand this thing. Spirituality is the ultimate of your journey over here. You don't even, as a rule, you don't even get in contact with your spiritual self. You could talk to your spiritual self quicker than you can talk to your omni-brain or the God creator. You get to your spiritual self by going out of this body process and talking to this thing. Now, understand this. How many times have you been to a program like this? This is good stuff right here. How many times have you been to a program like this and they didn't even say anything about the spiritual self? The reason is because they don't know how to say it. I can tell you how to say it. The spiritual self can be contacted through your words. Your words coming out of your mouth. You could talk to your spiritual self. And the spiritual self is laying around doing nothing basically because it's caught between your omni-conscious and your local brain conscious. It just kind of fights back and forth a little bit. But if you want to activate the spiritual